your blood vessels and your blood vessels are located in the abdomen. They produce the urine and which then passes to the bladder. The kidneys carry out two important processes. The first is that they remove waste product, the urea, from blood, and they carry out excretion.
I see you are talking again, their name on the register.
And the second is that they regulate the water content in the blood, so they carry out osmoregulation. Each kidney have a renal artery which filter the blood to the kidney, and they keep at a high pressure the blood which arrives to them. And then there are hundreds of thousands of tubes, the nephrons, which filter the waste substances from the blood. There is also an exit tube, the ureter, which carry away the urine. Then there is the kidney, also is under control by a feedback system. So the water saving is exactly balanced with the water needed by the body. And now I'd like to pass to Femia.
The osmoregulation is the process that regulates the water in our body. Each part of our nephron is called the collecting duct, and it removes the water from the filtered solution of the kidneys and returns it to the blood, passing in the nozzle. This process is needed from our body because it regulates the amount of water loss and the amount of water that we keep in our diet, because our body is formed by the 70% by water, and it is needed from lots of process by our body. Now I'd like to pass over to Flamini.
Kidney failure can be caused from an accident or an infection and can stop nephrons working efficiently. In fact, the body can control the amount and the composition of urine formed. If the problem isn't taken seriously, one of the consequences is the death. There are two kinds of treatment that can be done: the dialysis and the kidney transplant. Talking about dialysis, it is a process in which the blood is taken from arteries, cleaned, and then returned into the circulation. The blood the waste is diffused out of the blood thanks to a membrane into a fluid that is constantly cleaned. Yes, this is the... it's wrong, but... yeah. In this way, the blood is cleaned without altering other features. Every patient has 3 dialysis sessions per week, each lasting from 6 to 8 hours. So it is very invasive in their life. Even if a lot of people need this treatment, there aren't enough machines and trained staff. Here we have how the dialysis works. In other words, it is like artificial kidney. I want to underline two parts. Here we have a pump that controls the flow of the blood, and here we have the membrane, the dialysis, the real machine.
the health kidney in the body of recipients. But the problem is with the tissues rejection. Blood groups and tissue types of recipients and the donor are carefully matched to reduce the risk of rejection. Kidney problems have disadvantages with other treatment. For example, is much cheaper, and for the patient's life is less disrupted when they go in the hospital. Let me say, patients usually have 3 dialysis sections that lasting 6 to 8 hours.
Very good. Very good, cowboys.
Talk about homeostasis and control of body temperature. Let's start with homeostasis. So in our body, cells only works following some proper conditions. For example, the external environment is constantly changing. If you think about a winter morning, and we get out our house, we will probably have a temperature of 0 degrees or even lower. While if we get back home, we will meet a temperature of 20 degrees as an average. And this changes very fast. But luckily, our body has developed a way in which our internal environment, which is everything which is inside us, is keeping a constant condition to make the cells work better and as normal. This is called osmoregulation, and it involves many organs in our body. For example, the brain, which plays a vital role in negative feedback, which is, for example, if the temperature outside gets higher, the brain understands it and tries to slow down and to keep a lower temperature inside our body. Then the heart, which has to pump constantly blood to our tissue fluid, which is the last step of osmoregulation, homeostasis. Homeostasis. The heart has to work very, very hard to have a constant pressure and to pump constantly blood to our cells. And then the kidneys, which, as they said before, plays a vital role in osmoregulation. And then many other organs, such as the lungs, the intestines, and the skins. Now let's go over with Valerio.
We will talk about control of the body temperature. Many processes of our body are affected by the temperature, such as many biological processes, such as enzymes that work best at their optimum body temperature, cell membranes that can become more fragile as temperature rises, diffusion rates that are increased by an higher temperature and decrease with a lower temperature, and liquids such as blood that become more viscous as temperature rises. Birds and mammals are endotherms, so that they can control their body temperature by creating it by themselves. In the human body, the control of body temperature is regulated in the hypothalamus region of the brain. Also, our skin has an important role because it keeps constant the temperature inside our bodies. Few people know that heat and temperature are different things. Heat is a type of energy that can be held or be passed, while temperature is a measure of the concentration of the heat in our body. And also other processes in our body create it or left it, such as the movement that creates it, or biochemical reaction that also creates heat. But we can also left it with, for example, the expression. Now I'd like to pass over to
Starting with saying that our optimum temperature is of 37 Celsius degrees. Of course, our body can increase or decrease the temperature value. When increases, our sweating glands can secrete water to decrease our body temperature, and so water gets on our skin and regulates the temperature. When decreases, our hair contracts and captures all the hot air around us, so that our temperature stays stable. This is a difficult part, so I don't know if I can explain it well, but when increases our vasodilation of arterioles occurs, which means that little capillaries in our skin gets contracted and doesn't let the blood waste. And in the contrary, when decreases, it happens the opposite. So our surface capillaries shuns blood away to higher the temperature. Once again, when the temperature increases, our hair shrinks, so it becomes flat and doesn't let the hot air out get in contact with the skin. And the sweating glands, when it decreases, gets also shrinked and doesn't let the sweat out. So now it's time for David.
So I'm going to talk about the control of blood of the glucose level. In the blood, we can have many concentration of there are many concentration of glucose. The stable concentration is maintained by two hormones, the insulin and the glucagon. The insulin is released when the blood sugar is too high, and it stimulates the removal of glucose from the blood. And the glucagon released when the blood sugar is too low, and it stimulates the production of the glucose in the blood. And both are produced by the pancreas. So the insulin transforms glucose to glycogen, and the glycogen, and the glucagon transforms the glycogen into glucose. Now I will pass over the Leonardo.
So when the liver has the problem of not producing enough insulin, so to reduce glucose production, there is the disease called diabetes. So diabetes. When the diabetes occurs, the symptoms of the diabetes are an excessive urine production and an excessive thirst. So to check if you have diabetes, usually they use the clean sticks that are some stripes that have a name tags and a dye. You put it in the urine conducted by the patient. You see if the dye changes color, it means that there is too much glucose and so there is diabetes. The treatments for the diabetes are just an injection of insulin, of pure insulin. But diabetes is also a very dangerous disease because it can also bring to a heart attack, but also maybe to less dangerous and vital effects like cataract production in your eye, or also you can have many other damages. But there's also also another type of debating, not caused by checked by the urine, but if you have a bad diet full of sugars and the fats, you have to avoid the excessive eating of these things and regulating the diet.
In our bodies there are millions of cells and scores of tissues and organs that don't work alone, but they are coordinated. This means that they work together, carrying out various functions at different rates and in different times. There are two systems that allow coordination. The one is the nervous system that allows short and faster reactions, and the endocrine system which allows long-term and slower reactions.
So cells and organs do not work independently, and the central nervous system, which is composed by the spinal cord and by the brain, controls the reaction, all the reactions in the body. And how do this reaction works? We begin with a receptor on the skin that catches a stimulus, which is carried to the brain or the spinal cord by the peripheral nervous system, so a sensory nerve. And then the central nervous system sends a response to an effector, so an organ, by a motory nerve. And here we have the synapse, which is the way in which the message is brought by neurons from one neuron to another. And Christian will explain how it works.
So we have neurons. Neurons has a cell body with dendrites, an axon, and the end plates. The dendrites of the cell body collect information. In fact, end plates release a chemical called neurotransmitter, and the dendrites catch this neurotransmitter. Moreover, the axon has fatty seeds that has electrical inception. The fatty seeds has electric inceptions.
And here we have our nerve is structured. The nerve has many flashes of neurons, and between them there are some blood vessels. We see arteries and veins that carry out blood to provide energy for neurons. And this is what Christian just said, the composition of a neuron.
So when we have a stimulus, the simplest type of response is called reflex action, and then the pathway involved in this reflex action is called reflex action. So the reflex action is an involuntary action, and the difference between it and a voluntary action is that the voluntary action takes place only if the brain is involved in starting the action. Now I will give you two examples. The first one is coding, when particles make contact with the lining in the respiratory tree, and the involuntary response is that the diaphragm and intercostal muscles contracts. So it prevents lungs from being infecting or damaged. The second one is the pupil reflex, when the green light falls into the retina. So it causes contraction of the circular muscle of the iris, and so it prevents the retina being damaged or infected. Now, Alessandro will continue.
For the skeleton, rigidity is very important for the structure and for protection. But for movement, the skeleton must be flexible. To allow this flexibility, there are joints. The joint is where two bones meet. There are several types of joints, but the joint who allows more movement is the synovial joint. The amount of movement allowed in the synovial joint depends on the shape of the bones and how flexible are the ligaments. There's type of joints like the fixed joint, for example, the one of the skull, the hinge joints, for example, the knee, which allows the movement in only one plan. And there are also ball and socket joints, for example, the hip, which allows the movement in many plans and also rotation. Synovial joint, there are some characteristics of the synovial joint. There is cartilage between the two bones, which lubricates the bones and is a shock absorber. There is the synovial fluid that is also it also lubricates the bones and is a shock absorber. There are the two bones and the ligaments, which are strong but elastic enough to allow movement.
So, talking about muscles, we have muscle working pairs because muscle can only pull and not push. So, a muscle, for example, the biceps, move the bone in a direction, and the other, the triceps, move the muscle in the other direction. So, we have the flexion and the extension. Talking about the ligaments and tendons. Tendons join bone to muscle, and the ligaments bone to bone. The ligaments must stretch, while tendons must not stretch, because they must the movement must be
Now we want to speak about eyes and as a sense organism, and let's start with stimuli. A stimulus is a change in the environment that affects an organism, and all living organisms are sensitive, and so they can respond to stimuli. A receptor is a part of the nervous that is adapted to receive stimuli.
senses are our ability to be aware of different aspects of environment. For example, the sense of sight allows us to be aware of the light stimuli, which is detected by the photoreceptors. The receptor cells do not work in their own. In fact, they need a supply of blood to deliver oxygen and also nutrients and to remove gases. Also, the receptors are grouped together and with tissues to form a sense organ like the eyes. And the senses are detected by structures on the outside of the body and mainly around the head. This is because the stimuli come from outside the body, and also that is the first part of our body that goes into a new environment. There are also many internal receptors which detect the blood temperature and pH, which are important in the process of homeostasis. Okay.
Now we can consider eye as a sense organ because they have a receptor like rod and cone, and can make light stimulus, and it have its own blood supply like choroid and physical protection like sclera. There is the pupil, is a circular opening which lets light into the eyes, and it's left because choroid. This is the...
Povera Martina! Dove Martina?
Iris is the colored part, and it can control the amount of light. And ciliary muscle, suspensory ligament lens control the light focusing on the retina. Sclera is a photoreceptor and it protects the eye against damage. And choroid is a black colored layer and contains blood vessels. Now there is retina and yellow spot, and it has highest density of cones, and it can offer a maximum sharpness, but works well on in bright light. Then there is the optic nerve, and it is composed by sensory neurons, and which carry nerve impulses to the brain. And there is the blind spot, and there is the exit point of the optic nerve. And now there is the vitreous humor, and it's a jelly substance, and keep the retina in the back of the eye and support the lens. And finally there is the aqueous humor, and it's a watery fluid and supports the cornea and the front chamber of the eye. And now I want to pass over to Gianluca.
Good. So, how does the retina works? Now, okay, so we have how there is shown rods which are parts of the retina which reach the with this senses we can see mostly well at night, because they allow us to look black and white, and then there are cones which allow us to look in daylight, and more we can see with them the colors. Then behind these there is a layer of pigment which doesn't allow the images we see to be blurred or not clear. So now I like to pass to Federico.
So now we talk about how the eye works.
So the light have to get a sharp image of an object. The light have to reach the retina in a single point. During this travel, he has to pass through the lens. Here, the light gets inverted and diminished. Then our brain corrects this inversion and diminution in image, and this process is called integration. So when we have to see an object, the ability of the lens system to recognize an object from a far distance or a close distance is called accommodation. So when the rays of light are very far, they get parallel alone. So when they get to the lens, they need just be less reflected. Then the ciliary muscles are relaxed, the ligaments are tight, and the lens is very small. And when we have a close vision of an object, it's they have to be parallel, so they need to be greatly reflected. So they get parallel and then they focus just in one point, and so they need a great refraction. About the light, depends on the pupil. The pupil is very important because it takes care of how many light have to see our eye, and this is controlled by some muscle. The radial muscle used to make the pupil bigger, so more light can enter into our eye, and the radial muscle to the contrary, so they get the